I'm glad that I didn't discover this game before because I would have failed college. So I never played Balatro when it came out and rarely heard any news on the game until the Game Awards last year. But a month ago, I booted it up. And now I've lost 50 hours of my life, several nights of sleep, and possibly my grip on reality. This game is dangerously addictive. It's poker, but twisted into a roguelike fever dream where numbers go on flames, decks evolve, and every run feels like the one. Until it's not. It's cathartic to say the least and perfectly fits the mold of what a roguelike should be. This video is still a review of the game with topics such as the roguelike genre, gameplay / replayability, and story. However, I also thought about what would entertain you, the viewer. And is it weird that the first thing I thought of was my pain and suffering? So I'll be talking about trophies for the first time on this channel because I'm going insane without sharing my pain of this game with no one else. So this is my confession. I'm addicted to Balatro. Released in 2024, Balatro was made by just one person. Yes, you heard me. One person. It's classified as a poker roguelike, which is the first topic I want to discuss. For those who don't know, a roguelike game essentially takes the player's character through procedurally generated runs within the game's world. Each run usually has permadeath, which means you can only die once and the run ends. The game is centered around repeating these runs, which is designed in a way that you slowly get farther and farther while discovering enhancements, power-ups, etc. until you finally beat the game. However, this isn't the end of the game's experience, since you may have missed story beats and other enhancements due to RNG. This means you keep going, and in most cases, there's so much more after beating the game once. I personally love roguelikes because it offers a clear and unique way of progression. It's simple. You play, unlock, get stronger, beat the game, and go again. The procedurally generated runs makes each run different from the last, making some great and some you want to bash your head in. These style of games have been growing in popularity, such as Hades and God of War Valhalla being critically acclaimed, and now From Software with Elden Ring Night Rain recently being released. However, it's not easy to make this style of game. Roguelikes, in my opinion, puts overwhelming pressure on gameplay and replayability more than any other genre. The foundation of roguelikes relies on you playing the same routine of gameplay over and over again, so you must be able to endure it. This is not everyone's cup of tea, which I can understand, since the RNG element requires some patience from the player. Heck, here's a clip of me trying to get 5 of the same card in my deck for an achievement. RNG element of roguelikes is a very fine line between having strong and intriguing gameplay that overshadows it versus the sheer randomness evoking frustration and unfulfilling gameplay. Thankfully, Balatro is on the left side since the gameplay is so addictive that you will have no issue booting up another run. Balatro's runtime is on the shorter hand for the genre in my experience, taking only 30 to 60 minutes to complete and on the easier side barring modifiers. This is risky for the genre, with the game essentially claiming that it's enough content and intrigue to warrant more frequent runs, having more confidence with the player beating the game more than once. Luckily, Balatro has this in spades. Okay, that was terrible even for me, but this is one of the reasons for me being addicted. You can always do a quick run before work, eating, bed, or just sitting aimlessly and the only thing you can hear is... I'm going insane. However, this game is about poker, which doesn't have the deepest history in the folio of video games. So how does Balatro implement this very restrictive niche into the genre? The way that the game implements poker is by tying the theme to a simple gameplay goal. A point system. Seeing the point ticker higher on a level or getting cool little personal best animations is one of the few universally enjoyed delights in gaming. A system that is old as time, going back to the 70s and 80s where arcade machines such as Pac-Man and Galaga ran supreme and everyone competed to beat the highest scores on the leaderboards. A point system is an easy way to show progress, strength, or skill, with the more points being the better. Balatro effectively weaves this system and ties it perfectly with poker. Each poker hand has its own score of chips and a multiplier. The tougher the hand, the bigger the reward. It even goes further with almost every upgrade in the game gets traced back to this point system, so the strategy is trying to min-max everything to get the perfect hand. This is both frustrating and addicting. Frustrating when you're a couple hundred off, but addicting when you finally break through that barrier and get insane combos. Come on, you know that was satisfying with the sound effects of the multiplayer and chips rapidly getting faster to build the anticipation of what the score will be. And you know you've cooked when the flames on the chipset's multiplayer side show up. So it's clear that Balatro has a solid foundation of getting as many points as possible, but that doesn't matter if the gameplay / replayability isn't satisfying. So let's talk about it. To showcase its genius, it's better that I show you what you would experience in a typical run, which you begin with your deck of cards. You go to a floor called an ante to keep up with the poker theme, and to beat the run, you have to clear 8 antes. Within each ante are 3 levels: a small blind, a large blind, and a boss blind with a random effect that makes it more difficult. No matter what the level, each blind will get higher as you progress through the ante. When selecting a blind, you start with 8 random cards from your deck, and you can play up to 5 cards for your hand. Each hand gives you points where the type of hand played has a base number of chips and multiplier, which increase depending on the cards you scored and other enhancements. You start with 4 hands and 3 discards in each, where discards can get rid of up to 5 cards to play a better hand, and you have 4 chances to either reach or surpass the blind chip goal. Nothing too complicated so far, but the roguelike elements of features is where the real fun begins. These are roguelikes bread and butter, having these systems that reset per run to help each one feel unique. And I was floored with the amount that's here for Balatro. As you see right here, you have money in this game, which can be used in the shop, which only pops up after defeating a blind. This is the main place to purchase different upgrades, buffs, and cards either directly or with booster packs, allowing you a choice from a random assortment. There is insane variety, but I'll start with different styles of cards. Firstly, we have planet cards, which give a flat buff to the chip amount and multiplier to the hand of your choosing. Next, we have tarot and spectral cards, which give a mix of enhancement to your cards and modifiers such as a ram joker, increasing the potency of playing cards, and much more. The key difference between the two is that spectral cards give more valuable enhancements with a trade-off. These cards can be used right away in the shop or saved in a consumable slot to be used at the right moment. Finally, we have the main selling point, the joker cards, which occupy the top of your screen and give various buffs to your hands, such as giving you certain soup multipliers, giving you an extra discard, increasing the amount of money you can get each round, etc. These can be interchanged throughout the run, but the base amount you have is 5, so you must choose wisely. Hopefully I haven't lost you yet. There's just so much to this game. I haven't even talked about the additions, which are another version of buffing cards and jokers, such as getting more chips, multiplier to the multiplier, or a flat increase in the amount of jokers you can have. Oh yeah, there are also tags where you can get packs, jokers, or even more enhancements that you're guaranteed, but you have to skip the blind and lose the shop entirely. Did I mention the bottom left there are vouchers or soul, which are permanent buffs to the run from increasing the amount of hands of discards you have, decrease the ante you are. However, there's only one offer per ante, unlike other stuff where you can get multiple.
Hey, you're finally awake.
Okay, Skyrim aside, this game has insane customization, with all the systems above having tens or even hundreds of iterations. Virtually anything can be altered with these systems, but I didn't want to give a deep dive on everything since it's better for you to explore it yourself. I know the previous joke made it seem complicated with everything involved, but it's really not. The game allows you to discover things at your own pace, with virtually everything being unlocked by your actions or randomly getting it on a run. It encourages trial and error, figuring out what works and what doesn't. You'll discover little strategies on your own, such as the joker cards getting activated from left to right, so it's best to have any jokers that multiply on the right to maximize your points. I still forget to do this, and I've lost more runs that I can count this way. The best part, and another reason I got addicted, is that the sheer quantity of enhancements makes almost every run viable. Sure, I'm not saying that certain combinations are inherently better than others. However, when you boot up a new run and you see a joker that you've never tried, or a certain hand that gets a lot of planet upgrades for that you've never really delved in further, you know that you can always make it work. In most difficulties, I don't think there's a time for me that I was overtly upset with my luck. Keyword being most. This makes gameplay and replayability engaging and almost ironclad, since you always think that you'll get that one joker enhancement to save the run, and that's dangerous. I can't even tell you how many times I play this game and look through my window and realize the sun is now rising. The game is just intoxicating. I never know what run I get next, but I always know it will be a great time, and I'm sure you'll experience the same. So far, we've talked about what Balatro has, great gameplay and replayability within its genre. But let's shift our focus on what the game doesn't have. A story. In terms of the roguelike genre, the story is treated very similarly to the progression of unlocking upgrades, where if you play more, you'll get more until you've seen it all. However, to be blunt, there is no story in Balatro, no codexes, entries, and the dialogue is only the Joker mascot mocking you for losing or praising you when you win. But this begs the question, does Balatro need a story? Obviously no, because the game is completely fine the way it is, but I want to go in a different direction, not focusing on the game itself, but the video game landscape in general. This stemmed from a conversation I had with a couple friends who are much more casual in the space of video games, but I convinced them to play Balatro since they've played poker before and I maniacally got them addicted as well. However, when asking them about the game itself, they both gave me the same critique. They felt something was missing. I tried to put myself into their shoes, and the only thing I could possibly think of that would fill this void is a story. I have absolutely no idea what the story would be, but I understand where it's coming from. Video games nowadays are more competitive than ever, with hundreds and possibly thousands of studios trying to get your attention to make use of your precious time to play their games. Well, of course, making you pay for them. The way these games get your attention is by promising you the world, engaging gameplay, deep storytelling, realistic graphics are all phrases we've likely heard from promotional material. Whether or not it's true is a completely different issue, but if they're able to convince you that one time with these words and you swipe your credit card, they've succeeded and you are locked in. This is not the case for every game or every person for that matter. However, it seems that quantity is prioritized over quality. Insert any joke about the last few Assassin's Creed games. But I won't lie and say there aren't certain cases where the decision to have something like a story versus not shifted my opinions. It's better to show an example with my personal favorite roguelike of all time, Hades. This game is as near to perfection as it can get, with a smooth, buttery gameplay, beautiful visuals, and a wicked soundtrack. Balatro did make me think at the beginning that it could surpass Hades, but that was quickly quashed by, you guessed it, the story. Hades' story is simple but effective for the roguelike genre, effortlessly weaving in the roguelike structure with masterful character work by the voice actors. I also do prefer Hades' gameplay, but the story pushed my stance from I could consider Balatro being better in a sense to I'm confident enough Hades is better to tell internet strangers. And look, this is not a dig at Balatro by any means, but when you lay it out there, there is some truth to what my friends were saying. One has it, and one doesn't, and when the game that has it does it very well, you would take it since it's more for you to experience and very likely enjoy. However, at the same time, I value a game that understands what its purpose is. The succinctness in its value proposition is what Balatro does, and I commend them for it. The developer focused on a few things and polished them to perfection. It doesn't need a story to make people want to play it. It's confident in what it has, a fun game that makes your brain turn off for hours. I know I said I prefer Hades, but both are phenomenal games, and yes, it's okay to like both even if you have a preference. Both games are worth your time and are fun as hell. Okay, I think I wrote this joke at 3 AM. Also, it's absolutely the case that widening your scope in a game direction can have the flip side of Hades and just bloat the game. An infamous example is Biomutant, with so many systems with combat, story, customization, etc., and it just fell flat. There were some good ideas, but it was clear that the direction would have benefited from trimming the ideas into a smaller scope. The real issue is now, where do you draw the line? When does a game that's a solid all-around experience with more features such as Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order surpass a game that is an outstanding experience but really only has one thing going for it, such as Until Then? I think it's a matter of perspective with the player, but let me know in the comments. I think it's an interesting topic, and if you want my opinion, my line is leaning towards the Until Then side. However, I completely understand leaning both ways. But to wrap up this section, there's no need to change Balatro, especially with a superfluous story. It stays in line with its simple purpose and doesn't waste your time to get the most out of it. The same cannot be said on the final and shortest topic of this video, and that's the trophies. Okay, brief context. I'm a trophy hunter, sort of. I am a firm believer that every game should have some sort of trophy/achievement set within reason, because I think there's nothing more satisfying than seeing that 100% within your console of choice. I also believe that it allows the player to experience more of any game and try games outside of their comfort zone. Do I in faith recommend you to try and complete all of Balatro's trophies? No. The trophies in this game are pure torture. The thing is that on the servers, the trophies aren't too complicated. You have your standard being the game trophies, getting certain score trophies, doing certain challenges trophies, collecting or seeing all of certain trophies, the whole package. But the real kicker are the completionist trophies. Well, mainly two of them. Astutely named Completionist Plus and Completionist Plus Plus. The first one being getting a gold sticker on every deck, which is translated to beating the game on the hardest difficulty with every deck. There are 15 decks in this game, each with their own modifiers, some very useful, some not so much. However, this pales in comparison to the difficulties, not due to the number, which there are 8, not because you have to beat the game on each difficulty to unlock the higher one, meaning you have to do a minimum of 120 runs, it's because they stack. I wouldn't even classify these as difficulties, more like modifiers that progressively get harder. Meaning the highest difficulty, called Gold Stake, has all 8 modifiers ranging from higher scaling to making you pay for your own jokers. No, but I love this game and all that's included, but even this trophy pales in comparison to the other trophy, in which you need a gold sticker on every joker. All 150 of them that you have to beat the game on the highest difficulty. You may not even see certain jokers for hundreds of runs. Heck, the only time I have seen Legendary Joker is with the Soul Spectral card, which has a 1 in 334 chance of showing up. Also, it needs to be in your inventory at the end to count. You can't buy it earlier and sell it later to cheese the trophy. Have fun! Okay, but in all seriousness, am I going to do this eventually? Yes. Will this take years of my life? Likely. Am I complaining because I'm bad and need to get good? Absolutely. I still love this game, but this is more of a core of being a trophy hunter because everything else with this game is just peak. So to wrap up this section and video with one statement, please play Balatro. But for the love that is good in the world, do not get all the